boy David back with another episode of Wrestling with Things. And if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Wrestling with Things to keep up with all of our conversations on the hottest topics in professional wrestling and our interviews and conversation with other professional wrestling content creators and pro wrestlers. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title, you know what you're here for. I'm going to get right into it. WWE has announced a transfer window on their way to premiering on Netflix, aka I take this as WWE's trade deadline of sorts, which, to be honest with you, I am totally okay with them going away from a draft and just going into refreshing the roster with trades, because let's be honest, for the last like 2 to 3 years, it's been a soft brand split, not a hard brand split that we saw in the mid 2000s, in the ruthless aggression era from 2002 to 2008. It was more of a hard brand split where everybody that belongs to Raw mostly stays on Raw, and everybody that belongs to SmackDown mostly stays on SmackDown. They're not doing it that way, and honestly, I think that's for the better. I think it limits you creatively to just stick people in one show. But I'm going to break down some trades that I think need to happen that could benefit the overall landscape of WWE. And please get involved in the comments and let me know what trades you think should happen during this transfer window in WWE. And I know there's some people that don't like change, and they're going to say, oh, why is the brand split ending? Why isn't WWE honoring the brand split like they did in '05? Well, this isn't 2005, and two, we're in a time now that, for the most part, people want to see their favorites pop up anytime, anywhere. And three, I just think people are prisoners of the past. Don't get me wrong, I love the hard brand split, but this is a new era, a new time. And like I said, I think there's so many segments and matchups that we wouldn't have never gotten this year if WWE kept a hard brand split. So I like the flexibility of it. So, first person that I think would be benefit in the roster and benefit in the company to transfer over, and they kind of alluded to it by showing him come out of Nick Aldis's office, is the world heavyweight champion Gunther. I can totally see him going to SmackDown to be their world champion. I think this would be beneficial to Gunther. It would open up a new batch of opponents. And I do think, for the most part, he's ran through, other than CM Punk and to another degree Seth Rollins, Gunther's ran through a lot of the most relevant good guys on the Monday Night Raw roster. So I think going to SmackDown could open up new possibilities with a potential Gunther versus LA Knight. I think that's a hell of a fresh feud for Royal Rumble or maybe WrestleMania. And I think also, even on the heel side of things, because we're seeing Gunther kind of lean into somewhat of a tweener role where he could fight good guys, but he could fight cowards like Dominic Mysterio as well. So I think with Netflix going to Raw, they would want Gunther on SmackDown, and then my next trade, obviously, would mean Cody Rhodes, the current WWE champion, would go to Raw. I think this is a no-brainer. WWE is not going to have one world champion switch and keep one on the brand unless they were going to have one of them drop it. I don't see either of them dropping it right here, right now. So I let them switch shows, and that's that. The next one, this may surprise some people. I think CM Punk should go to SmackDown for a couple reasons. One, with Cody Rhodes going over to Raw, that's the face of the company, the tippy top face. So, in my opinion, the next best face in the WWE as terms of popularity and drawing power is CM Punk. So to balance that out a little bit, even in a soft brand split, I think SmackDown being CM Punk's main home would make a lot of sense. And he's alluded to the fact that he's wanted Gunther next a few times. And I think a good way to kind of lead into that, or even test the waters with the feud, is to keep them on the same show for the most part. And I totally see it being realistic that CM Punk is world heavyweight champion either by WrestleMania or definitely before WrestleMania. I definitely think he has one more run in him. And I think Gunther and CM Punk is a real dream match. The next one, I think most people are expecting this with all the rumors going up, and I don't think this is any sort of hot take, but Roman Reigns going to Monday Night Raw. Look, Raw's on Netflix. You see the 20 million commercials that they have shown us. They're going to want the biggest star that they have to be on Netflix to get their numbers, to make a good impression on the hottest streaming service in the world. There's no better way to do that than to bring the guy who's been the centerpiece of the hottest storyline in history. That's Roman Reigns. And I could totally see a scenario where he's not just him, but the OG bloodline in general is able to primarily be on Raw. And let's be honest, Roman Reigns hasn't been on Raw in like a good 4.5 years. It would feel brand new and fresh. And this opens up a whole lot of fresh opportunities from him, even outside this storyline he has with the bloodline. So I definitely see my tribal chief going over to Monday Night Raw. Next, this is a little bit of a sleeper, but I totally think karrion Kross, along with the authors of Pain and Final Testament, going to SmackDown could be very beneficial to them. They just came off beating the Wyatt Six. That's the Wyatt's first loss since coming back in a reincarnated form. And I think that was big for karrion Kross. And you see him finally creatively getting into a rhythm with his devil's advocate character and aligning a little bit with the Miz. Miz has worked wonders for getting them heat and giving them some swag and credibility. I think it would be a great move to have karrion Kross of Final Testament go over to SmackDown. They're even, the authors of Pain are fresh opponents for the Motor City Machine Guns in DIY. So I think that would be a move that would benefit everybody involved. Um, and last but not least, I think this kind of is a no-brainer, but I think Solo in his new bloodline with Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa would go to Raw simply because it's gonna be easier to keep that story going with Roman Reigns and Solo sharing a brand. And listen, shout out to Solo, shout out to Jacob Fatu. I love you, Solo. Shout out to all of them because everybody was sleeping on them when they first did this reincarnated bloodline, saying, it doesn't measure up. He was dealt a bad hand. It won't work, yada yada. But look at months later, Solo. Look at 2024 as we approach the end. Solo was arguably the most dominant heel for the most of the second half of it. You could see his confidence as a performer growing every week, and he has really helped make the whole new bloodline credible villains, and he's worked wonders for helping put over Jacob Fatu. And listen, I think with Raw on Netflix, I expect to see The Rock. I expect The Rock, the final boss, to be behind this to torture Roman Reigns. I could be wrong, but that's where I see it going. I expect to see The Rock in some capacity at the first Raw on Netflix. So I think having Solo in the bloodline and Roman Reigns in the OG bloodline on Raw, I think Netflix is going to be obviously a priority, so they're going to want to beef it up. But while they're beefing it up, I think there's ways to balance out SmackDown to still keep that brand strong in its own right. But that's what I got for my trades during this WWE transfer window. Let me know if you think I'm nuts. Let me know if you agree. Please get involved in the comments and let me know what trades that you think would make sense during this transfer window. And listen, we're trying to build more of a community here. Don't be shy. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Wrestling with Things. Like us, share us, comment, all that good stuff, and have a good day.